It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Miami Marlins. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Thursday evening to you, wherever you may be. Final game of the four-game series, and let's take a look at the ball club. Miami has won 4 in a row, 3 straight against the Dodgers. They're in 4th place, 5 games back of Washington. The Dodgers, despite losing 3 in a row, are still in 1st place, a half a game in front of the San Francisco Giants. The last time the Dodgers lost a 4-game series would be September of last year. The pitchers tonight. Jose Fernandez will be on the mound. Big Cuban with a record of 1-2. However, 2-0 against the Dodgers going back to 2013. That's before he had Tommy John surgery. The interesting extra note for tonight's game, not only will Kenta Maeda be pitching for the Dodgers with a record of 3-0, 25 innings, allowing just 1 run, but Ichiro Suzuki will be in the starting lineup going up against him for Miami. By the way, Maeda, with 1 run in 25 innings, comes in with an earned run average of 0.3. Fernando, at his marvelous time in 1981, he went and allowed 1 run in 31 innings, and his earned run average was 0.2. Another thought, it's a 4-game series. When Mattingly managed the Dodgers, he swept twice against Chicago and Philadelphia. Right now, sit back, relax, enjoy the ball game, and a whole lot more coming up. Sportsnet LA is brought to you by T-Mobile. Get Major League coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the last year. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Thursday evening to you, wherever you may be. Dodgers take the field to start the fourth game of the four-game series, and a particular highlight tonight, the fact that Kenta Maeda will face Ichiro Suzuki later on, perhaps even in the first inning. The game is televised back to Japan, and we understand it's about 11 a.m. in Japan tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, here's Don Mattingly's lineup, and it's posted this way. Dee Gordon leading off at second base, Martin Prado at third, Christian Yelich in left field, Giancarlo Stanton in right, Justin Bour at first base, Ichiro in center field, JT Realmuto the catcher, Adeiny Echevarria at short, and Jose Fernandez on the mound. For the lineup card, you can see the Dodger names, and when you get to number 9, it's in Japanese, and that one way or another means Maeda. So we'll have a Japanese influence tonight, and especially when they meet each other. While we have a time, we can talk about it. The fact that when Ichiro came to Seattle, Maeda was 14 years old. He was a soccer player, a little baseball, but all of the games that Ichiro played in was sent back to Japan. And Maeda, watching him on television, just absolutely became his #1 hero, and we'll see him hook up later on. And naturally, some Japanese fans, of course, taking in the ballgame. But right now, it will be Dee Gordon to lead it off. Kenta into his windup, and the first pitch of the game, fastball runs away from the plate, 1 ball and no strikes. Dee Gordon. Well, once upon a time when he played for the Dodgers, he had some big games here. In fact, he had a 4-hit game here. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way, and Maeda delivers, and that's on the corner. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kenta Maeda. He's about 6 feet, but only 155 pounds. Born in one of the great years for the Dodgers out here, 1988. 1-1 pitch, chopper to shortstop. Seager is on it, flips it over easily, and Gordon is retired, and we have 1 away. Let's take a look now at the Dodgers defensively, and they shape up this way, with Gonzalez and Utley on the right side, Seager and Kendrick on the other, Crawford, Peterson, and Puig in the outfield, Grandal behind the plate. So we have 1 away, and Martin Prado coming up. Howie Kendrick, a little slow in getting started. Remember, he missed a lot of spring training, and it's pretty evident, but he's such a good ball player. It'll take him a little time, and he'll get back to normal, and playing third instead of second tonight. First pitch is in at the knees for a strike to Prado. 0-1 the count. As we've mentioned during the broadcast, Prado is really one of the big leaders on the ball club, and as usual, leading 4 for 8 in the series. Veteran right-hand hitting third baseman swings and doesn't get it, and the count 0-2. Prado missed the early first 2 games because he was home and he was on the point when his wife delivered a baby girl. 0-2 to Martin Prado, with Christian Yelich on deck. Maeda into the windup, back he comes, hard ground ball inside third, down the line, past the diving Kendrick, and on his way into second base is Prado. So immediately the Miami ball club gets a man in scoring position, and a couple of big hitters coming up, Yelich and Stanton. Double inside third and down the line. It brings up a point, too, so far in the series. With runners in scoring position, Miami is 7 for 27 with 8 runs batted in. That's a .259, .260 batting average. The Dodgers are 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. So Prado takes advantage of a mistake by Maeda. With 2 strikes on the hitter, Kenta tried to stay around the plate, and Prado punished him with the double. So now here is Christian Yelich, who has turned into a heck of a ball player. Left-hand hitter takes an off-speed pitch for a strike, and the count 0-1. Christian from Thousand Oaks went to Westlake High School, hitting .371, and of course he has the big job trying to get aboard with Giancarlo Stanton hitting behind him. Maeda set, ready, comes back to the plate and high, and the count 1-1 strike. As you can imagine, great deal of interest. The Dodgers are on the railing watching their pitcher, and Miami is on the railing watching the opposition. They've heard and read so much about him. So the Marlins are watching, the Dodgers are too, but right now some of them are watching Clayton Kershaw. The 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on, line to left, starting back, then stopping, making the catch is Crawford. So a line drive out to left, and with 2 down, Giancarlo Stanton coming up.
27, Giancarlo Stanton.
Stanton, who really punishes the Dodgers. He's 4 for 10, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and for good measure, a stolen base. In his career, he's hitting .322 and 12 home runs, 30 runs batted in, a slugging percentage over .700 against the Dodgers. So Giancarlo, another local boy, went to Notre Dame High School. Maeda ready, off speed, that's whacked to center. However, coming in a hurry and picking it off is Peterson, and the inning is over. So no runs, a double on an 0-2 pitch, a man left, and at the end of half an inning, Marlins nothing, Dodgers coming up. He did get a double for Martin Prado, but he was left at second base. Now let's take a look at the Dodger lineup, and it goes this way. Leading off, Chase Utley at second base, followed by Corey Seager at short, Adrian Gonzalez at first. Yasmani Grandal behind the plate, Yasiel Puig in right, Carl Crawford in left, Howie Kendrick at third, Jock Peterson in center, Kenta Maeda batting ninth. The big man, Jose Fernandez, 6'3", 220. Fernandez, born in 1992 in Cuba, and his first pitch to Utley missing, ball one. Interesting story. For instance, his stepfather defected from Cuba and settled in Tampa, Florida, so he had a goal in life, and that was to get to Florida. The 1-0 pitch on the way, fastball grounded up the middle by the diving D. Gordon. Picking it up in center field is Suzuki, and so Utley opens up with a base hit into right center field. Take a look at the Marlins defensively, and they read this way: Boer at first, Gordon at second, Echevarria at short, and Prado at third. Yelich in left, Suzuki in center, Stanton in right, and the battery of Real Muto and Fernandez. Something to see Suzuki start a game in center field, and we can tell you more about that in a little while. The first pitch now to Seager, down and away, ball one. at pitch at 97. Seager, who celebrated his 22nd birthday yesterday, hitting .247, 2 home runs, 12 runs batted in, takes a fastball that just misses at 95. 2-0 the count. We were telling you about Fernandez's stepfather, who defected from Cuba, and that gave Jose a goal. The next pitch is low, ball 3. So he attempted to defect unsuccessfully 3 times, and each time a failed defection attempt was followed by a prison term. Imagine. Now the 3-0 pitch on the way, swung on and fouled away. So they let the kid swing, throw. 3-1 the count. Fernandez in a boat, choppy water, large number people defecting, a body overboard. Fernandez dived in and rescued a woman. It was his mother. The next pitch is just outside. So just like that, the Dodgers have something going. First and second and nobody out.
First baseman number 23.
For Jose Fernandez, very tough against right-hand batters, so the Dodgers have loaded the lineup with left-handers. Fernandez holding right-handers to a 173 batting average. Left-handers are hitting only .229 against him anyway. So Fernandez doing something what the Marlins want him to do, and not try to throw as hard as he can, but instinctively he's right there throwing 96 and 97. After the Tommy John surgery, the Marlins are banking the future on him, so they're trying to make him ease off a little bit. 1-0 the count to Adrian, 2 on, nobody out. First inning. Fernandez delivers, down and away, swung on and missed, and a 1-ball, 1 strike to Adrian. The Dodgers, as we mentioned, 0 for 13 with runners in scoring position. Interesting thing about Jose Fernandez, especially what he does at home and what he does on the road. 1-1 pitch on the way is swung on and missed. 1-2, a little slider. At home, Fernandez 18 victories, 1 loss. Earned run average 1.6. Away, 5 wins, 10 losses, earned run average 3.8. 1-2 the count. Young right-hander set at the belt, checks the runners, comes back, fastball in there, and down goes Adrian. So Adrian Gonzalez had a big at bat last night and could not do anything with it, and now caught looking for strike 3. So we have 1 away, 2 on, and the batter will be Yasmani Grandal. Of course, for Adrian Gonzalez, let's face it, he's the butter and egg man. If he's not delivering, the Dodgers are struggling, and at least for a few games he's been struggling. So 1 away. Now Grandal checking in. Jose delivers, fastball way outside, ball 1. Fernandez working on Grandal. The catcher hitting .273, 1 for 8. Switch hitter does all of his power hitting from this side of the plate. No score. Dodgers threatening in the first. Fernandez comes back, throwing hard, jumps it in for a strike at 97. Well, I don't think that's exactly easing off, but that was the story we got, that the Marlins were saying you don't have to throw as hard as you can throw. Coming in, he can throw 100, I guess. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball in. Grandal started his swing, held back. So 1-2 the count to the Dodgers. Utley at second, Seager at first, 1 out, Puig on deck. The next one to the plate, slap foul, somewhat defensively. The pitch was down and away. Grandal had to at least take a hack at it and fouled it into the stand. 1-2 the count. The Dodgers have not hit a lick with 2 strikes on the hitter over the last 40 at bats. So he got 2 strikes on Grandal. Hernandez back, fastball whacked into left center. Ichiro went the wrong way. It's over his head, going back to the wall. 1 run will score, and the Dodgers take a 1-0 lead. That was a hard hit line drive, and Ichiro started in, and he was fooled, tried to correct, and it sailed over his head up against the left center field wall. So the Dodgers catch a break. It was a fastball up, and the ball was hit. By the way, we mentioned this the other day. The first time this year Don Mattingly started Ichiro in center field. That's big news. Only Willie Mays, Carl Yastrzemski, Steve Finley, and Ichiro. They're the only 4 center fielders past the age of 40 who started in center field. Well, it got by, and the Dodgers take a 1-0 lead. And the batter now is Yasiel Puig with runners at second and third. He takes a strike. So Utley brings the run home. Seager standing at third. And with 1 out, Randolph taking and Puig trying to pick him up. Fastball down and away. When you think about it, Chase Utley has done a wonderful job, especially in the leadoff role. He started the game hitting .301 and immediately got aboard with a base hit. So he has been doing tremendous work throughout April. 1-1 pitch is swung on and missed. 1-2 the count. Yasiel Puig is really struggling right now. They all go up and down, and for the moment he's been going down. So Yasiel trying to turn things around against one of the tougher pitchers in the league. And with first base open, on deck Carl Crawford. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Fastball, little pop fly behind the mound. It's going to drop in front of Gordon, who has no play. Scoring on it easily is Seager, and safely aboard with a furry little single as Gordon, playing deep, tried to come back, couldn't do it. So Puig gets a little bloop single behind the mound. He'll take it the way things have been going. Seager scores, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. Puig picking up a run batted in. Grandal with the ball landing just behind the pitcher's mound. He had nowhere to go. For D. Gordon, a little frustrated that he couldn't make a play somewhere, but he just did not have the play. So 2 on, 1 out, and here's Carl Crawford. Fastball low, ball 1, 1-0. So the Dodgers finally break through a little bit. We told you in their last 40 at-bats where they got 2 strikes on the count, they've really not done a thing except a single by Justin Turner Monday. Now the next pitch is low. 2 balls and no strikes. Both hits by Grandal, who hit one over the head of Ichiro, and that little dinger from Puig, both came with 2 strikes. 2 balls and no strikes. Fastball in there. 2-1 to count. Jose deep in thought for the moment. Right hander ready. Crawford waiting. Pitch is swung on and missed, and the count goes 2-2. In his career, Fernandez has faced right-handers and held them to a 173 batting average. Left-handers are hitting 229. The big thing, he has over 6 strikeouts for every walk to a right-hand batter, but only 2 strikeouts for every walk to a left-hander. Ground ball right side, pick easy to second from deep, and they get the double play. So 4-6-3. However, the Dodgers scratch for 2 runs on 3 hits. Fernandez out of the inning, and at the end of 1, 2-0 Dodgers. run average certainly is the talk. Fernando Valenzuela, way back in '81, had an ERA of 0.2. Kenta Maeda has a 0.3. Pedro Estacio with the Dodgers, that was 0.8. And Clem Labine, great starter who became an even better reliever, an ERA of 1 in the first 4 starts of the career. So now it'll be Jim Bohr, big left-hand hitting first baseman, takes a strike, and the count 0-1. Appeared briefly last night in the 8th inning and struck out. He has a very busy bat. That thing is always in motion, even when he is striding into the pitch. Though the strike 1 pitch on the way, he takes a high strike, so he's in a hole 0-2. We can tell you they're in the top of the 3rd inning in Arizona. The D-backs are leading the Cardinals 2-0. That's Michael Wacha and Robbie De La Rosa. Strike 2 pitch, nubbed out in front, but it hit him, so he'll come back in the box. No balls and 2 strikes. If you're wondering about the Giants, who are a half a game back of the Dodgers, they're off. They're in New York, and they'll play the Mets tomorrow night. Kenta Maeda gave up a double to Pardo. That's about it. Prado stayed at second base. Strike 2 pitch on the way, swung on, towering pop foul. Grandal coming over, trying to get under it, and it lands amongst 3, amongst Seager, Maeda, and Grandal. So that means Bohr has a break. Ball apparently lost up in that powder blue sky for a split second, and all you need is indecision. There you can see Seager coming over, but it's behind him. And Maeda, who might have been able to direct traffic, just couldn't do it. So 0-2 the count, and Bohr back up there. Bohr, Suzuki, and then Real Muto. Strike 2 pitch on the way, waved at and missed, and down goes Bohr, and we have 1 out. When the great Ichiro left Japan and came over to play for Seattle, Maeda was 14 years old. Suzuki was the cream of the crop, the greatest player since Sadaharu Oh. Maeda didn't remember him, but he grew up idolizing Ichiro, and now they go head to head. Kenta into the windup. Right-hander's first pitch is swung on and fouled back, and the count 0-1. So it's a great moment. At one time in Japan, Ichiro pitched. That wasn't his job, but it was an all-star game, and he wanted to pitch. And what he wanted to do was pitch to a particular batter. Strike 1 pitch and near strike 2. He wanted to face Hideki Matsui. You remember him? Matsui was a World Series MVP against Philadelphia back in 2009, but it never came to pass. Here's the strike 2 pitch on the way. Maeda delivers, swung on and missed, and down goes Ichiro. The other night they met for the first time. As usual, they would bow to each other, and then Ichiro nails him. Again, it's 11 o'clock in the morning in Japan, and I'm sure there is a huge audience watching the confrontation tonight. So 2 down. Real Muto, who's caught every inning, up to the plate. 3rd hitter in the inning. Dodgers lead 2-0 in the first. Now we're in the top of the second with 2 strikeouts. Real Muto hitting .400 on the road. Maeda's drive is into right center, and he nailed it on the dead run is Jock Peterson, and this one clears the wall. So for Maeda, who came into the game having allowed 1 run in 25 innings, he is hammered now for a home run, and it's 2-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Real Muto has really put in some great work. Came into the game hitting .270, and that's his 2nd home run. So 2 strikeouts, and then boom. And the batter is Adeiny Echeverria. And we're watching on television. Maeda kind of went, ooh, and then shook his head and dropped his head a little. Real Muto in the dugout. 2-1 favor the Dodgers. First pitch now to Echeverria, and that's fouled away. 0-1 the count. So 1 run in 25 innings, and then 1 run in an inning and 2/3 tonight. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Kenta delivers, check swing on a slider, and he's committed for a strike. 0-2 the count. Adeney is a great fielding shortstop, but he is not hitting a lick. Coming into the game hitting 177. Strike 2 pitch, little high. 1-2 the count. Lovely evening in the ballpark. No breeze really. Oh, the flags are rippling a little, but just a zephyr to move them. And the 1-2 pitch on the way. Maeda delivers, down and away, and a 2-ball 2-strike count. People thought the Dodgers made a big gamble to sign him, but boy, that gamble looks great. The 2-2 pitch to Echevarria, and that's lifted to shallow straightaway center. Peterson comes up a few steps and makes the catch. So the Marlins get a run. 1 swing of the bat by the catcher JT Realmuto, and at the end of an inning and a half, 2-1 Dodgers. Bottom of the second inning, and the first pitch is hit back at third by Howie Kendrick, and a good play at third by Martin Prado throws him out. So 1 away here in the second inning, and the batter will be Jock Peterson. Boy, we barely got that pitch in. So a nice play by Martin. Kendrick hustling down, and at the other end, nice job on a bounce by big James Bohr. So 1 away, and here's Jock Peterson. Martin Prado, day in and day out, turning in a great job at third base. Peterson, last 10 games hitting .320, takes a pitch off the plate, ball 1. Interesting watching Jock go back on that home run. He turned his back to home plate, sure the ball was going to come off the wall and bounce back to him, and it just stayed. It was stung over the right center field wall. 1 ball and 1 strike, 2-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Bottom of the second inning. Fernandez with a fastball pulled to first base. Bohr picks that up nicely, and he's at the bag. And we have 2 down in the second inning. For Jose Fernandez, as all pitchers do, they'll pitch maybe on 4 days or 5 days or 6 days occasionally. He's pitching on 4 days tonight. His record 8-5, but a fine ERA of 2.2. Now here is Maeda. Looks at a strike, and the count 0-1. If Fernandez has 6 days, his record is 8-1. Strike 1 pitches in there. So the count, no balls and 2 strikes. 2 out, second inning, 2-1 Dodgers. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Fastball slapped foul. How he even hit that thing, I don't know. It looked like a bullfighter. Instead of waving a cape, he waved that bat. The pitch was low and inside, and he hit it right into the Marlin dugout. Fastball down and away at 96. 1-2 the count. When Maeda gave up the home run, it was the hardest pitch he had thrown tonight. He hits a ground ball to short, on it. That's a barrier, flips to first, and that's the inning. So 3 ground balls. Dodgers go quietly, and at the end of 2-1 Dodgers. Hold on to a 2-1 lead, and we go the 3rd inning. Jose Fernandez followed by D. Gordon and then Martin Prado. Kenta Maeda, the hardest thrown pitch he's made tonight was 91 miles an hour, and Real Muto hit it over the right center field wall. So let's see how he pitches. He's made 24 pitches, 10 in the first inning, 14 in the second. One thing the Dodgers do not want to do with Maeda is make him pitch a lot. High slider at 90, or maybe just a cutter. 1 ball and no strikes. The most pitches he has made in a game for the Dodgers, 98. The 1-0 pitch on the way to Fernandez. Maeda deals, drops that in nicely for a strike, and the count 1-1. Of course, you remember when the Dodgers signed him to an 8-year deal full of all kinds of conditions, the word was that he had a questionable elbow. 1-1 pitch on the way, chased and missed. 1-2 the count. So Maeda had given up 1 run in 25 innings and gave up a run in the second inning on the home run by Real Muto. The 1-2 pitch swung on, ground ball to short. Seager up with it. Fernandez barely jogging down the line, and we have 1 away. A reminder, Sunday at 1:10, Dodgers and Padres, and the first 15,000 kids receive a replica Corey Seager jersey presented by High Chew. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. So Corey working on the gum. Maeda working on D. Gordon. Gordon takes a look at a slow freight that gets right through the legs of Grandal, and it's a strike. That thing barely got up there, and D's kind of saying, really? But he's not saying a word. No balls and 1 strike. Maeda ready and comes back to Gordon, who slaps it to third. In position is Kendrick, throws him out easily. So 2 down in the third inning, and Martin Prado coming up.
For 14, Martin
Prado doubled in the first inning inside third down the line. Terrific player, terrific leader. All around quite a guy. Tremendous respect throughout baseball. And Martin hitting a cool .373. Prado has been in 17 games counting tonight. They played 20. This is number 21 for the Marlins. They're in 4th place, 5 games behind Washington. And they have a good ball club. I mean, you start watching the Marlins every day and you realize this is not a poor Miami team at all. Next pitch is a little low. Don Mattingly has, among others, Wei-In Chen. Then last night, Riccolino, and besides Nicolino, the big man tonight. So there's 3 pretty good pitchers. 2-1 favor the Dodgers. There's Nicolino. Boy, did he sweat it out last night. Tough ball game, but he came up with a win. 1-2 pitch on the way. Reach for, hit over the head of Utley into right center for the base hit. So Prado just goes with where the ball is. He just went with it. It was down and away. So he has a double and a single. And that means Yelich coming up, and that means a tough hitter. Even tougher than Prado. So Christian, big boy at 6'4", filling out. Become a wonderful hitter, batting .366. Dodgers have done a good job of quieting him so far in the series. But he's that kind of a hitter so far, and then boom. Maeda delivers, curveball fouled away. Big slow curve inside. Yelich comes into the game having hit 10 of 11 road games. 4th in the league in hitting with a .371 batting average, and so far he's given up 5 points tonight. 2-1 Dodgers, top of the third, 2 out, Prado at first, and the pitch down and away, 1 ball and 1 strike. The Marlins have won 4 straight. Dodgers have lost 3 straight. The Marlins playing much better ball on the road than at home. 2-7 at home, 7-4 on the road. And the pitch is lifted foul off first, well back into the crowd. That's going to take a little bit of time to come down, and it takes a kangaroo bounce and goes back up a good 10 rows. 1-2 the count to Christian Yelich, the pride of Westlake High School. Waiting on deck, Giancarlo Stanton. The pitchers, I'm sure, have a tendency to be thinking about Stanton while pitching to the hitter ahead of him. 1-2 pitch is low. 2-2 the count. So Prado at first with 2 out. Dodgers 2 runs, 3 hits. Marlins 1 run, 3 hits. Dodgers had Utley single, Seager walk with 1 out. Grandal doubled, a ball that Ichiro might have caught 5 years ago, but not tonight. 2-2. Maeda ready. Here he comes. Off speed, a change floating away. Ball 3. That thing came up at 74. Dodgers also got lucky. That little bloop over the mound. Gordon charging, didn't have a play, and the Dodgers have the go-ahead run, and Roberts will take them any way he can, and D was really frustrated. Though as Gordon watches, the 3-2 pitch coming up. Maeda delivers, breaking ball swung on and missed, and it was up around somewhere around the eyes. The Yelich strikes out. No runs ahead, a man left. Take another look. Up and maybe away, and the Dodgers lead 2-1. favor of the Dodgers. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. Youngsters with able to say number one of them bringing a baseball glove. And here's Chase Utley, takes inside, ball one. Talking about Martin Prado before, a veteran who has commanded tremendous respect. It goes for Chase Utley, and he singled to open up the game in the bottom of the first. Fernandez comes right back and misses, and the count 2 balls and no strikes. So Utley, Sager, Gonzalez, 3 left-hand hitters in a row, and then Grandal, who switches. Fernandez ready, and his 2-0 pitch on the way. Change, he took a lot off it. 3-0 the count. Fernandez suffered his first career loss at home against Detroit. All he did was strike out 13, but he still lost. 3-0 pitch to Utley. Fastball drilled in there at 94. He's gotten it up to 97 in the first 2 innings. Maeda 91. 3-1 pitch on the way. Took a little off that and got it in there. So from 97 he comes back 87, and 3-2 count on Utley. Dodgers 2 runs 3 hits. Miami 1 run 3 hits. Looks like another tough game. 3-2 fastball is just out of the zone, and it was 96, and Utley is aboard. That would be the second walk given up as Don Mattingly hangs on the railing. We mentioned earlier when Don was here, the 5 years that he was here, 3 championships in the Western Division. Twice as a manager, he won 4-game series. You don't see very many. He won a 4-game series against the Cubs and another against Philadelphia. So the pitch to Seager is swung on and missed. 0-1 the count. Miami has won 3 straight, trying to make it a sweep. 0-1 the count to Corey Seager. Fernandez comes back. Fastball foul back. Fastball at 95. So the big guy, and he is, they hope to be, he's the bell cow. He's the leader of the staff. Strike 2 pitch on the way. A shot right through his legs into center field for a base hit. Utley knows Ichiro was deep, so he takes the extra base and goes to third. The ball got through the legs of Fernandez. That slowed it down a little bit, so that helped because Ichiro then had to come and get the ball. It wasn't going to come to him. So the base hit, once Utley took 1 look, he was on his horse. It was a breaking ball right through the legs of Fernandez. So a walk and a base hit. Dodgers are in business again. 1st and 3rd, and this time nobody out. So Jose Fernandez is struggling, and the Dodgers trying to catch him on perhaps an off night. We'll see. His first pitch is swung on and missed by Adrian, and the count 0-1. Adrian struck out in the 1st inning. 1st and 3rd, nobody out. 2-1 Dodgers, 3rd inning. Next pitch, check swing, and now the right-hander Bill Miller behind the plate indicates strike. Pitch was low, backhanded by Real Muto, and then the arm came up. No balls and 2 strikes. Fernandez back with a fastball very high. Padres here tomorrow night. Cesar Vargas, we have never seen him. He's just been called up to pitch against Alex Wood. The next one is swung on and missed. Breaking ball in on the hands. So Adrian, chewing gum, shakes his head a little bit. He came up in the 1st inning with runners at 1st and 2nd and struck out. Comes up in the 3rd inning with runners at 1st and 3rd and goes down swinging. Because he's striking out against one of the better pitchers in the game. So that brings up Grandal, who doubled over the head of Ichiro. Actually, Suzuki started in. The ball was hit so hard, and then it took off. And Ichiro tried to correct. No chance. And the first pitch in for a strike. 0-1. Utley down the line from third. Seager away from first. Strike one pitch to Grandal. Hernandez delivers. That's fouled away upstairs. So he's ahead in the count. No balls and 2 strikes. Jose Fernandez, who, believe it or not, is a better pitcher in the second half of the year. Strike 2 pitch in the dirt. Nice block and catch by Real Muto. In the first half in his career, Fernandez 12-9 with an earned run average of 2.8. The second half, he's 11-2 and an earned run average of 2.1. The 1-2 pitch, check swing on a sinker, no swing, and the count 2-2. Normally, if the Marlins score 3 or more runs for him in his career, he's a 19-game winner, 19-4. Well, they've gotten him 1 tonight. Big pitch now, 2-2 to Grandal. Fernandez delivers, waved at, and missed. Way out of the strike zone. So Grandal, annoyed with himself, and walks away. Second strikeout in the inning, third strikeout in the game, and that brings up Yasiel Puig. Puig was lucky, hit a little blooper over the mound, and by the time Gordon, who was deep, charged to pick it up, he didn't have a play and a run scored. So if you look in the box score, you figure, oh, Puig's okay. He's got a base hit, run batted in. But actually, he's been struggling. Hitting .272, 2 home runs, 9 runs batted in. So one Cuban facing another, and the first pitch low. Adeiny Echevarria, the shortstop, is also from Cuba. Que viva Cuba. And the 1-0 pitch on the way. That's in there nicely, a slider, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Boy, when I first went to Cuba, it was 1953, and the second time with the Dodgers, 1959. Here's the 1-1 pitch, swung on and missed. And in '59, we didn't know anything about Fidel Castro. And when you got there, wow, it was a festival. You could buy a funny face to look like Fidel. You could buy a military cap with the star on it, and people would take your picture. And it was just a great time. Huh. Yeah, sure. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count to Yasiel Puig. Hernandez ready, and the pitch is swung on and missed, and down goes Puig. So the inning is over. 3 consecutive strikeouts by Fernandez, Gonzalez, Grandal, and Puig, and it's still 2-1 Dodgers. At LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the Bacon-licious sourdough bacon ranch combo. Only at Jack in the Box. One of those things where East meets East. And of course for Maeda, it is a thrill. He worshipped Suzuki before television and before he got over here. So Maeda out in front 0-1. Stanton started his swing. They're going to check. No swing. 1 ball and 1 strike. As we've pointed out throughout the series, if a right-hander is pitching, Giancarlo wears the mask to protect the left side. He had that terrible beanie 2014. He takes it off when a left-hander is pitching. But boy, that's the mental side of the game. How in the world, after really having your face crushed, can you come back and hang in there on 96-mile-an-hour fastballs? And big swing and a miss. Off-speed pitch. Though if Stanton is looking from a fastball from Maeda, it's very doubtful. The one fastball he uncorked was 91 miles an hour, and that was the pitch that Real Muto hit for a home run. 4 strikeouts for Maeda. 4 strikeouts for big Jose Fernandez. Now the batter, Justin Bour, and the count 0-1. Really doesn't make much difference if Maeda gets in front of the hitter or not. When he's behind 1-0, he comes right back at the batter at a great rate. Here's the strike 1 pitch. That's away. Despite the fact that the batters might be in front of the count, 1 ball and no strikes, you know what they wind up hitting? 114. There's the 1-1 pitch to Justin Bour. Kind of waving that bat, but held back. 2-1. Bour, as you well imagine, just looking at him, is a power hitter. No mistake about that. Chris Johnson playing a couple of games at first, and now Bour is back in there. 2-1 high, and he went after it anyway. A 90-mile-an-hour fastball up out of the zone, and the count 2-2. Way up above the shoulders by the time it got to the mitt. But he's that kind of a hitter. He'll miss a lot, but when he hits them, boom. 2-2 pitch coming up, and that's lifted down the right field line. Puig coming over. The ball is right on the line, and Puig comes over in foul ground, and he's furious as he dropped the ball. Yasiel had to come a long way, and finally, I'm sure, right there, he wasn't quite sure where he was. Now he's mad at himself because he had more room than he thought. See, he had some room, and it hits his glove to really concentrate. He's ready to punch the wall. Instead, he decides to kick it. So when you run that far, have the ball hit your glove, you expect you're going to catch it, but it would have been a tough play. All right, it's still 2-2 to Justin Bour. Maeda ready, and the young right-hander delivers. Change off the plate. 3-2. Bour used to be strictly a pull hitter. He's been going the other way a bit. Peterson plays him slightly in left center, and the 3-2 pitch, check swing, ball 4. So for Kenta Maeda, that would be his first walk given up. He takes pride in the fact that he throws strikes. Meanwhile, Yasiel is thinking, if I catch the ball, we have 2 out. Instead, 1 out and a man on first. But he is also thinking, I guarantee you, about striking out with runners at first and third. That's the one thing about an outfielder. They have a lot of time to think and destroy themselves. So 1 out, 1 on, and here's Ichiro. And ball 1. Suzuki with the incredible numbers and hitting .364. Will he have enough time to get to 3,000? Well, there's a lot of fans taking his picture. He doesn't come this way very often. 1 ball and no strikes. 4,221 hits if you count Japan. You want to split it. He has 2,943 hits here, and he had 1,278 in Japan. Idolized indeed, and for good reason. 1-1. Lifting a little pop fly back a third. Kendrick in fair ground makes the catch. So Ichiro pops it up. 2 down, and Real Mundo coming up. Can you imagine the thoughts going in the mind of Kenta Maeda? He's standing there thinking, when I was 14, I used to watch Suzuki on television. And here I am pitching and getting him out. I struck him out in the 2nd inning. And I get him to pop up here in the 4th. So it's a big night for Maeda. For Ichiro, just another game. Two down, Realmuto coming up. Off speed, in for a strike. Realmuto hit that line drive over the right center field wall. He's caught every inning. So he's really been a workhorse. And hitting .281. Little nubber. Take a look at his home run, and especially watch Jock Peterson thinking it's going to hit the wall and come back to him. He got a fastball, and he certainly is strong enough. There's Peterson waiting, and he can wait a long time. So 2-1 favor the Dodgers. 4th inning. Realmuto's having a great time on the road. He's tied with Christian Yelich, hitting .400 on the road. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. JT Realmuto. Maeda being very careful against a man who just homered. Kenta ready, and the 1-2 pitch, slider, and he went after it and popped it up. Who will it be? It's going to be Gonzalez. So no runs, no hits, a walk, and a man left. And at the end of 3.5 innings, a frustrated Puig trotting to the dugout. It's 2-1 Dodgers. Dahl is a picture of a warrior. We've all known that he's had a sore right arm, and he has that heavily wrapped. Might be a heating pad. I don't think it's ice. Meanwhile, into the bottom of the fourth inning we go, and Carl Crawford facing big Jose Fernandez. Now the count is 1 ball and no strikes. That's very interesting. I'll tell you in a moment. Next pitch, a little ground ball, and D. Gordon will make the play. In examining Jose Fernandez, you find out if the count is 1-0 or 0-1. The hitters have a combined .340 batting average against him. However, if at bat after those 2 pitches, the batters are hitting .149. Strike. Howie Kendrick grounded to third in the second inning. Backs off, and the pitch catches the inside corner anyway. Howie's body language tells you that he didn't agree with Bill Miller. No balls, 2 strikes. 96. Little chin music. Two runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 3 hits for the Marlins. And the breaking ball takes care of him. So that's 5 strikeouts and 4 of the last 5 batters. You know, friends, after the Dodgers face the Padres Friday night, fans are invited to sit on the field, enjoy Friday night fireworks presented by Denny's. Tomorrow's show features a musical tribute to Prince. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Well, Fernandez now is heating up. Struck out 4 of the last 5. He's still trailing 2-1. Peterson takes a breaking ball strike. Hit the ball hard, grounded to first in the second inning. And Jock hitting .271. That pitch down and away. Great location. 0-2. With no one on base in his career, the hitters are batting .177. Check swing. He's done. So let's see. That's 5 strikeouts of the last 6 hitters. I guess he's warmed up. And at the end of 4, it's 2-1 Dodgers. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Get huge cash back on a new Camry or a Corolla at Toyota's Axe the Tax sales event. 2-1 favor of the Dodgers. We move to the 5th inning. Adeiny Echevarria Fly to center, 0 for 1. Then the big pitcher, Jose Fernandez, and then D. Gordon. So Kenta Maeda about ready. When he finished the inning in the top of the 4th inning, Maeda went back to the clubhouse. So here he goes in the 5th. Big, slow breaking ball, 71 miles an hour. That's the slowest change he's thrown. The hardest pitch, 91. And a lot of stuff in between. And that's going to be flared into right field. Going out for it is Utley. Juggles and holds on to it. Nice play by Chase. 1 down. Fernandez coming up.
Number 16, Jose Fernandez.
Whoop. Grab it again. And he did. So Utley, who rarely smiles, when he's out there, he is all business. And we have 1 down. Here's Fernandez at 6'3", gives you a pretty good strike zone. And ball 1. Fernandez, born in Cuba, 6'3", 220. Only 24 in July. Off speed and up, and he went after it. When Fernandez was a little kid, and he chases that one, all he would do is hit rocks with a stick. He'd take a paper sack from his home and he'd go searching for rocks that had to be a good size, like a baseball, and he'd spend his day hitting them with sticks. Winds up not a hitter but a pitcher. So we have 2 down. Fernandez laughing over chasing that pitch. Two down. D. Gordon coming up. Gordon grounded to short, grounded to third. Dodgers always look bunt with D. He had a great at bat. They're still talking about it against the Mets. A 16 pitch at bat and a base hit. Maybe some of you remember Alex Cora, who had a similar at bat here at Dodger Stadium. 1-1. Two to 1 in favor of the Dodgers. We're in the 5th inning with 2 out. Maeda missing inside. 2-1. Change and it jocks. No swing. It barely made it, and Gordon able to hold up, and he's talking to Grandal. You have to say, how could you call that kind of a pitch? 3-1. Little ground ball over to gather it in. Adrian to the bag. So down goes Gordon. 5 in a row retired since the walk to Bohr. And at the end of 4.5, it's still 2-1 Dodgers. Bottom of the fifth inning, 2-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Kenta Maeda will start it off against Fernandez, and a strike. The outfield is split. Stanton somewhat shallow in right. Suzuki is shaded towards right center, and Yelich up a few steps. High pop fly. Justin Bour, the first baseman, saying he's okay, and is. So all of a sudden, this is the real Jose Fernandez. That wasn't the same guy in the first inning, but now look out. There were runners at first and third in the third inning. He was in trouble. He struck out the side. Then he struck out 2 of the 3 in the fourth. So all of a sudden, he's retired 7 in a row. Trailing 2-1, he'll face Chase Utley, who singled, scored a run, and walked. That's right, 0-1. As we mentioned earlier, with the bases empty, Fernandez's career batting average 177. Fast one that sinks when he is ahead or behind by 1 run. In the final 3 innings of a game, the hitters are batting 154. So if you're going to get him, you better get him early, and the Dodgers got 2 in the first inning. That's a strike. 1 out, 5th inning, 2-1 Dodgers, facing one of the top pitchers in the game. Quite a matchup with Kenta Maeda. 2-2. On deck, Corey Seager. 1 out. Though Utley will not bite, and the count goes 3-2. And he just will not bite on a pitch out of the strike zone. So Utley walks for the 2nd time, and he's been on base 3 times. 3 walks given up. Meanwhile, Kenta Maeda trying to stay loose and decides, okay, I'll go back to where it's warm. Seager walked, scored a run, single to center. Corey with 2 home runs, 12 RBIs. And the fastball is low, smothered by Real Muto. 1-0. Corey checking with Chris Woodward at third. Utley short lead. And line drive, base hit into right field. Up with it is Stanton. Utley wants a throw drawn, and it's speared by Gordon. But all Chase wanted to do is make him throw. So Seager comes up with his 2nd hit. He's 2 for 2, plus a walk. So 1st and 2nd, 1 out, and Adrian Gonzalez, a very hungry hitter, checking in. Adrian struck out with 2 on in the 1st inning, struck out with 2 on in the 3rd. So he's had 4 men on base, and he's failed to make contact. So a 3rd time now. Little dribbler. Fernandez picks it up and tags out Adrian. The runners move up to 2nd and 3rd. So 2 out, and the batter now, Yasmani Grandal. Grandal, a long double, and struck out. Remember, just a few minutes ago, we saw him sitting in the dugout, that right arm heavily wrapped. Now hitting left-handed, so that right arm has got to be quick. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers, 1 run, 3 hits for Miami. Good fastball down. 94. 0-1. Adrian explaining things. Kendrick deep in thought. Another pitch down, but down out of the strike zone. So immediately Hernandez out in front. With 2 outs, and we have 2 outs now this year, hitters are batting .148. And of the 21 hitters he had faced with 2 outs coming in, he had struck out 11 of them. Well, he's got Grandal with 2 strikes. Got him again. So, great young pitcher Jose Fernandez picks up his 7th strikeout. Dodgers leave 2, and at the end of 5, 2-1 Dodgers. ...1961, 5 days after his 40th birthday, Warren Spahn pitched a no-hitter against the Giants. Spahn not only pitched the no-hitter, he beat Sam Jones, won the game 1-0 on a base hit by Henry Aaron to drive in the run. And as far as the totals are concerned, Spahny won 290 games and 52 shutouts. One of the all-time best. Let's go back to this one. Oh, 0-1 the count. Martin Prado will start it off. Boy, just mentioning his name, remembering what an artist Warren Spahn was. There's a hopper to short, a lot of English on it. Seager makes the play, 1 away. The other night we were talking about the fact that the big delivery has pretty much disappeared. Spahn, however, had a big windup and looked like he was going to send his foot up into the sky. It was that kind of a windup. He was as good as it gets. Spahny had a tremendous sense of humor, and he was a rarity. If I were pitching for a living, I would certainly take care of my arm, and I would only use it a certain time, the way they do today. Not Spahn. Ball 1. Spahn would chase fly balls in between stars and throw to the bases like he was a regular outfielder. So he was totally different. Of course, the game was totally different. Like people say, what's the difference, if there is any difference, between Kershaw and Koufax? Well, first of all, Koufax and all of his pitchers pitched every 4th day. Clayton pitches every 5th day. But then if you look up, the numbers are unbelievable. Sandy striking out an unbelievable number and coming up with 28 complete games. You don't get 28 complete games on an entire staff in the big leagues today. Yeah, it was a total game. Totally different. 2-1. Ground ball off the glove of Kendrick, down the line. Over to get the ball is Crawford, and holding on, Christian Yelich with a base hit, and that brings up Giancarlo Stanton. So Yelich 0 for 2, now 1 for 3. Kendricks could not come back and get it. So Maeda facing his first real challenge since he got out in front. Facing Stanton with a man aboard. 1 out, 6th inning. 2-1 Dodgers. Peterson is deep, shaded towards right center. That's a strike. The home run that Stanton hit most recently wound up in the black background in dead center. They make that black so the hitters won't lose the ball. Well, he lost the ball with the bat. 1 ball and 1 strike. Miami leaving here. They will go to Milwaukee, and the Dodgers dig in for the San Diego Padres. 1-1 to Giancarlo. Boy, he's a formidable looking fellow. 6'5", 250. Two and 1. 1 out. 2-1 Dodgers. Yelich at first, held on by Adrian. Fernandez has made 79 pitches. Maeda now ready for 78. And a high fly ball, but that's all it is. Coming in for it is Crawford. Sounded like Stanton hit the ball at the end of the bat, though there was nothing behind it. Of course, when he swings and makes contact, hitting a ball in the air, everybody snaps to attention. Right there. Just a fly ball. Two down, 6th inning. 2-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Giancarlo trying to figure it out. Justin Bour takes a strike. Kenta Maeda has struck out 4. Fernandez has struck out 7. Fernandez taken in with a hoodie. He'll be facing Puig, Crawford, and Kendrick when he goes out there in the bottom of the 6th. 0-1. Christian Yelich came up with a base hit to extend the inning. He is not much of a base stealer. Christian has stolen 1 and he's been caught twice. Of course, Bour, left-hand batter, and the Dodgers have the triangle out there. Seager all alone on the left side. The middleman is Kendrick, and he's way out on the grass. 1 ball and 1 strike. Two runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 4 hits for the Marlins. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And waiting, Ichiro. And popped up. Who's going to get it? It will be Peterson, and that'll be that. So a nice inning for Maeda. Gave up the base hit, but then got by Stanton and Bohr. It'll be Puig to start it off in the bottom of the 6th. 2-1 Dodgers. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. And by Carl's Jr., the $4 real deal. 4 items for just $4 at Carl's Jr. Yasiel Puig pops the first pitch up. It's around the plate. Real Muto one-hands it. Boy, that was a tough play. But you notice everybody backed away. They gave him all the room in the world. So Puig pops it up. Puig is fortunate. So are the Dodgers. But they're going to let Real Muto have all the room in the world. And the nice play gets a little applause from Fernandez. Puig got a little hit. It landed about 70 feet from home plate. D. Gordon couldn't make a play, and the second run scored the difference in the game. On a ball that went about 70 feet, it certainly frustrated Gordon. Meanwhile, line drive to center, and there's Ichiro. So Crawford hits it hard, but an out. Ichiro will be leading off in the 7th inning.
Third baseman, Howie Kendrick.
It's different. It's fun. It's all business. But Ichiro and young Kenta Maeda, so far tonight, Ichiro has struck out and popped up. Fastball on the hands, 0-1 to Howie Kendrick. Howie grounded to third, struck out, 0 for 2. Check swing, no swing. Howie, a marvelous hitter throughout his career. Trying to catch up. It's such a tough business if you're not working every day. And he missed a lot of spring training. But he's still behind. 1-2. Diamondbacks are leading the Cardinals 3-0 in the 8th inning. The Giants are in New York. They're off. And look who's here. Andre Ethier. Boy, do they miss him as he talks to A.J. Ellis. Remember the foul ball just about split his shin bone. And they said he'd be out a good 3 months. Did they ever use his bat? Ball 3. Dodgers started the night a half a game in front of the Giants and a game and a half in front of Arizona. Dave Roberts wants to win this ball game, snap the 3-game losing streak, and stay in first place. Struggling Puig and a struggling Kendrick. That would be 8 strikeouts for the big guy. However, at the end of 6, 2-1 Dodgers. Top of the 7th inning, 2-1 in favor of the Dodgers, and Ichiro will start it off. Ichiro, back in 2011, donated $1.25 million to the Japanese Red Cross with the earthquake and terrible tsunami. That's a strike. Ichiro's the honored chairman of the Ichiro Cup. That's a 6-month-long boys league tournament with more than 200 teams. He watches the final game, attends the ceremony, etc., and hits a little flare, and Seager makes the catch. One thing you can bet, the Dodgers are counting Maeda's pitches. In the 4 previous games, he made 84, 95, 98, and 94. So I don't think that Rick Honeycutt and Dave Roberts are thinking about letting him go to pitch 115 or anything like that. Real Muto, who hit the home run to account for Miami's run, homered and popped up 1 for 2. A lot of time, most of the times tonight, when you see a Miami hitter swing and miss, he's missing by a lot. I mean, he's really fooled. Then showing that high fastball. 1-2 the count. Maeda has struck out 4 compared to the 8 strikeouts by Fernandez. Check swing foul. Cody Edgy is up now in the Marlin fish tank, as they call it. Young left-hander. He came in briefly last night. Did not pitch well. He walked the hitter that he faced. One and two. Fouled away. Real Muto putting up the big numbers on the road, hitting .400 and homered tonight. 1-2 to the catcher. Slider, and he went with it, fouled it down the line. J.P. Howell gets up in the Dodger bullpen. Again, talking about pitch count. Maeda's at 90. The most pitches in a game for him, 98. So the Dodgers watching him very carefully. Down and away, 2-2. We were talking about Warren Spahn and when they pitch 4 days, every fourth day. And looking at Maeda, you have to think he couldn't do it. I don't believe he'd be big enough, strong enough to pitch every fourth day. And that's going to go down the line, hooking, foul. In fact, couple of things that Maeda had to get over. Number one, you pitch every fifth day here. I think in Japan they pitch once a week. And the other thing, the baseball that they use in Japan is smaller than the ball that is used in the United States. He's about 155 pounds, maybe 160, but no more. Heck of a pitcher. 2-2. And that's looped into shallow right center, drops for a hit. So Real Muto going after that pitch, flares it into right center, tying runs aboard. Say, don't forget, join us early this Sunday for Viva Las Dodgers, presented by State Farm and Time Warner Cable. Family-friendly pregame festival held at the historic 76 station. Entries free with a game ticket. So for more information, visit Dodgers.com/Viva. All right, base hit. 1 out, tying run aboard. And a slumping Adeiny Echevarria hitting just 172. And a line drive base hit. Notice the pitch count now. He's made 94 pitches. And he's given up back-to-back singles. 1 out, and we'll see about a hitter for Fernandez. So do they get him now? Do they wait? We gave you the numbers. Derek Dietrich, a left-hand hitter, and a third baseman is coming up. Dietrich played earlier in the series. Though Jose Fernandez pitched a great game, but so far Maeda has outpitched him. Jose, 89 pitches, 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, and the difference in the game is a 70-foot pop fly that landed behind the mound. Gordon could make a play and a run scored. So now let's see, the interpreter goes to the mound. Well, you have a left-hand hitter coming up. Will Irriton, the interpreter, talking to Maeda. They all seem to be in agreement, nodding yes. All right, after 94 pitches, he's in trouble. 2 on, 1 out. J.P. Howell had been throwing in the bullpen. Derek Dietrich, a .333 hitter. He has 1 home run, 6 runs batted in. Pedro Baez is now up. So 2 on with 1 out. And at his feet, a throw down, but not in time. Nice play. First of all, Grandal had to dig that thing out. Almost hit him on the foot. And then Grandal comes up, takes a shot. How quick Grandal was, not only to make the play, but also to see possibly the runner with a bigger lead at second base. Probably he thought ahead, which all the good players do. If there's a pitch in the dirt, that guy at second might try to move over and I'll take a shot at him. Meanwhile, our pal Wallach has been on the phone. And time. The umpires now. Oh, it's an equipment change. Well, let's see. They're going to review. Bill Miller with the headset. Here's the throw, and you can see Seager. Did the hand get on the bag? Looks like it's under his knee. Did he keep the hand on the bag? Well, it's pretty well blocked, isn't it? That was a wonderful play by Yasmani Grandal. First backhanding, knowing a runner instinctively would move off the bag, and he fired down there. You have to really squint, don't you, to look under the knee. Gordon, Yelich, Stanton, all watching. Bob Guerin on the phone. 2 on, 1 out. Tough game. 7th inning. 2-1 in favor of the Dodgers. Echeverria deeply interested. That's the play. Did the hand come off? Well, it looks like the right leg blocks you. The pitch, by the way, bounced, it looked like, on the left foot. If that's so, then Dietrich is hit by a pitch and the bases are loaded. So there's a lot going on here. And the way he reacted, it looks like he was hit by the pitch. So Wallach wants to look, and the Dodgers want to look at Seager. And guess who's on the phone? So 2 decisions with the hitter and the play at second. A big decision. If Dietrich is not hit, you have 2 on, 1 out, and he's still at the plate. If he's hit on the foot, the bases are loaded with 1 out. All right, Bill, what's the decision? We're still not sure. So obviously it was not a hit batter on the foot, and obviously safe at second. So Dietrich back up. So it really was, although we kept looking at the play at second, it was the pitch that almost hit Dietrich on the left foot. 1 ball and 1 strike. Maeda now 96 pitches, the most, remember, that he has pitched this year, 98. Baez and Howell behind him in the pen. 1-1. That's a strike. Maeda with his usual great control. He has walked 1. Now ready to make 98 pitches, the most that he has made this year. D. Gordon on deck. Line drive foul. Boy, that thing was ripped. Dietrich played a little third base and did well, but then when Martin Prado came back and joined the club, he took a seat. One and two. Jammed it, but he was able to foul it off. So Dietrich giving it a good battle. Jose with the hooded jacket on, he's done. Dietrich is trying to get him a win or even a tie. So this would be the most pitches he's made this year in one game. Number 100. Got it. So Dietrich is caught looking to strike out. 5 strikeouts for Maeda. And now D. Gordon coming up. Take a look. 2 on, 2 out. Gordon is 0 for 3 with ground balls. 2-1 Dodgers, 7th inning. Fastball is hit into left field. Running around third is Realmuto. Throw to the plate, not in time. So D. Gordon comes up with a base hit to tie up the game. And Maeda allowed to make 101 pitches. Jose Fernandez delighted. He's off the hook.
14,
and of course now Maeda has to worry about a loss. So Gordon just slapped that little fastball that was running away from him. Didn't try to pull it. Just slapped it into left. And Realmuto, who had a good lead, is able to get to the plate and score. So we have a 2-2 tie. And Dave Roberts is on his way out to the mound. So it's one of those things. He was doing well. He had made 98 pitches, pushed it a little bit more, and the 101st pitch cost him a game. So they'll be going to the bullpen, and we'll be going for a pause, and we'll be back. Two-run, 7 hits, struck out 5, walked 1. Most pitches this year was 98. Tonight 101, and the 101st pitch cost him the ninth. Kike Hernandez will now take over at third and bat ninth, and the pitcher Pedro Baez will bat in Kendrick's spot. So when the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 7th, they'll have Peterson, Hernandez, and Utley. Pedro, hard throwing as you know, 13 strikeouts, 4 walks. And Martin Prado, the veteran, coming up. The runners at first and second belong to Maeda, and we have 2 out. Prado double, single, grounded out. Ground ball up the middle. It's going to go through. Here comes Echeverria. He will score. Over to third goes Gordon. And it is 3-2 in favor of the Marlins. So now, with that base hit, after all his hard work, Jose Fernandez could be the winning pitcher. And for Kenta Maeda, he could take the loss. So Prado comes up with his 3rd hit. A double and 2 singles. Echeverria scores. Gordon to third. And look at Jose. Ha. Direct contrast, huh? So Baez gives it up. First and third with 2 out. And here's Christian Yelich. Yelich 1 for 3. 3-2 Marlins, 2 down. Runners at first and third. Gordon coming down. He made him balk. He sure as heck did. D. Gordon came down, made a quick lunge, and Baez broke his delivery on the mound. Wow, what a steal that is for D. Gordon. He just stole Baez's wallet, and it's 4-2. Watch Gordon. See that? And right away, you couldn't see Baez, but he broke his delivery while being on the rubber. It was a cinch balk all the way. That's a strike. D. Gordon with a towel over his head, coming up with a huge play to steal a run, which is also charged to Maeda. So he's charged with all 4 runs. Prado with his base hit is at second on the balk. He belongs to Baez. Breaking ball and a dandy. 4 runs, 8 hits for the Marlins, 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. The Marlins trying to sweep a 4-game series and leave here with a streak of 5 in a row. Dodgers trying to survive. They've lost 3 in a row. 0-2. Curveball hit foul. Yelich flied to left, struck out, single to left. Jose talking to Juan Nieves. When they go to Milwaukee, that's when Nieves pitched a no-hitter quite a few years ago. So the pitching coach looks like they're talking about hitting. 0-2. On the hands, fly ball to left, late start, but coming up forward and making the catch. Crawford puts it away. However, talking about putting it away, 3 runs up against Maeda, and the big one, the killer by Gordon. 4-2 Miami. And looking at the Dodger box score, you can see there is a drought at the end. For Crawford, Kendrick, Peterson, and Maeda, that's 0 for 10. Meanwhile, one of the 2 Dodger runs was that 70-foot single over the mound and an RBI credited to Yasiel Puig. In other words, Hernandez was as tough as expected, and the Dodgers now losing 4-2. Justin Turner will come up and bat against a left-hander, Edgy. Cody looking in to get a sign. So Turner hitting for Peterson, and then Kike Hernandez. Sails that in for a strike. 0-1. Edgy, spelling the name E-G-E. Cody only in his 4th game. Struggled a bit last night. Came in, faced one batter, and walked him. Sinking fastball. 4 runs, 8 hits for Miami. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Inside, almost hit him on the foot. Pedro Baez now has the big job. 2-1 the count. D. Gordon comes up with a big hit and then causes the ball. 3-1. Edgy, however, in a very brief appearance last night, was not convincing. Kyle Bearclaw begins to warm up. Edgy last night came in, made 5 pitches and walked. 3-1. And line drive, base hit. It'll be cut off by Yelich. So Turner comes back with a line drive single. After watching Edgy briefly last night, I'm sure that Don Mattingly's a bit edgy, and there's Bearclaw getting ready. Kike Hernandez coming up. And hand blowing time. Yep, here he comes. So Edgy has faced 2 batters and has been far from convincing, and it looks like Mattingly will take him out. So Edgy goes out. We have time. We'll pause for this. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning. It's 4-2 Marlins. And Kyle Bearclaw comes in, having worked 7 previous games. one of the biggest reasons why the Dodgers are laboring throughout the series. They came into this game tonight batting just .160 in the previous 3 games. Bearclaw's been in before. He's a good size, 6'3", 225, facing Kike Hernandez. You have a runner at first. That's Turner. Little slider for a strike. 0-1. Waiting on deck, Chase Utley. Bearclaw's from Santa Clara. Went to school at St. Mary's. 0-2. Bearclaw, 6'3", 225. He'll be 26 years old the end of May. Tom Candiotti went to St. Mary's. Bearclaw passed him for career strikeouts. 0-2. Ground ball to third. Prado down to second. Gordon turns. Too late. Great effort at second base by Justin Turner to give Gordon a legitimate hard time. So the force play, and that'll bring up Chase Utley. Prado down there, but then here comes Turner. The throw to first a little off mark. So Turner does his best to keep the inning alive, and his teammates know it was a worthy effort. So 1 out. Chase Utley singled, walked twice against Jose Fernandez. And ball 1. Last year, Miami traded their longtime closer, Steve Cishek, to St. Louis, and they got Bearclaw. Last year, Bearclaw hadn't pitched above AA, but they thought he was ready. Kike short lead at first, and Huntley is hit by the pitch. So Utley's been aboard 4 times on a walk, 2 singles, and now hit by pitch. I tell you what must be maddening for Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez has come up 3 times tonight, though he's waiting on deck as Corey Seager checks in. There's Adrian thinking, well, maybe the 4th time's a charm. So here is Seager, 2 on, 1 out. And ball 1. Seager walked, singled twice against Jose Fernandez. So Utley at first. Hernandez at second. 1 out. Bottom of the 7th, 4-2 Marlins. Fastball foul back, and I mean fastball at 98. Real Muto shuffling cards behind the plate. Bearclaw picks up the one that he wants, and here we go. Two and 1. So Bearclaw is trying to make that big jump. Last year pitching in AA. Actually, he went from Jacksonville to Springfield to Palm Beach. 2 and 1. Overthrowing. Yeah, 98's a good number, but he's not pitching, he's throwing. He got a fastball, slider. They tell me he also has a splitter. And it's the old story. If you don't get it over the plate, you're in trouble. And he's in trouble now. 3 and 1 to Seager. fouled away. Well, the Dodgers down by 2, have 2 runners on base. A full count to Seager, who, after fouling that pitch off, first thing he did was ask Bill Miller, the plate umpire, did I swing at a strike? So 3-2. Hernandez at second, Utley at first, 1 out. And down he goes on an off-speed pitch. So from 98 to 84, and Seager strikes out. So here's Gonzalez. Boy, you talk about fooling with dynamite. This will be the 4th time that Adrian Gonzalez has come up to the plate with 2 men on base. In the first inning, he had Utley and Seager, and he struck out. In the 3rd inning, he had Utley and Seager, and he struck out. And now, in the 5th inning, he came up with runners at first and second and hit back to the pitcher. So this is the 4th time with 2 on. Fastball, ball 1. Starting pitchers, Maeda and Fernandez are out of there, and they are the pitchers of record. Drops that curveball in there. Maybe the way that thing bends, it doesn't look like a slider from up here, so that might be the splitter. 1-1. Fastball overthrowing. Two balls and 1 strike. 2 on, 2 out. 4-2 Miami. Way outside. It looks like he is not a pitcher when he goes to the fastball, as if he's trying too hard, and understandably, he really doesn't have much experience in the big leagues. So having trouble with the fastball, let's see what he does. 3-1. Fastball at 97. 3-2, 2 down. That means runners will be going on the pitch. Kike from second, Utley from first. And a big pitch for both Adrian Gonzalez and Kyle Bearclaw. The kid against the veteran in a tough spot. Runners go. Ground ball to the right side. Out on the grass is Gordon. Throws too late. Now the Dodgers have a runner at second base, and he had rounded the bag, and Utley is out, and the inning is over. So the Dodgers run out of the inning on a ground ball that should have been the last out. Gordon, in a haste, hurried, kicked it, and Utley, meanwhile, rounding second, couldn't get back. Dodgers checking to see, is there a chance to appeal the play, but I don't think so. Utley slowly walking off the field, and we're watching Bob Guerin, and he said no, nothing to charge. So the Dodgers come up empty in the 7th, and it's 4-2 Miami. 4-2 as we go to the 8th inning. We can take another look. There's the ball kicked by Gordon, throws to Bohr, who looks to the plate and then throws down to Echeverria, and they get Utley trying to get back to the bag. I'll tell you who probably feels worse than Utley. Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian Gonzalez is not only 0 for 4, he has stranded 8. Oucho. And 4-2 Miami. Life in the big leagues. Stanton with the left side of the infield loaded up, and he drives one to right center on the dead run and picking it off at the wall, but it kicks off and goes out. So Stanton has done it again, and just like that, it's 5-2. So the great right fielder, the kid who went to high school at Notre Dame, continues to punish the Dodgers. For a split second, Fernandez, Kike running parallel to the wall. It was a fastball, and of course Baez is victimized by home runs so often, and the ball just cleared as Kike hit the wall. Giancarlo Stanton does it again to the Dodgers, and the batter now is Justin Bohr. Ball 1. So Stanton, as usual, somewhere along every game he sticks a pin in the Dodgers. That's in for a strike. Go back over Stanton's numbers. A career .322 batting average against the Dodgers, 13 home runs, 31 runs batted in, slugging over 700. Ground ball, Utley. One out in the 8th, and Ichiro coming up.
Center fielder number 51, Ichiro Suzuki.
At Dodger Stadium, Stanton has 9 home runs, 22 runs batted in 19 games. Yeah, he is really something, and young and really just starting. He hit the ball out of Dodger Stadium already in his young career. Giancarlo hit one on top of the pavilion roof in left field. Little ground ball. Ichiro still runs very well at his age. 2 down. He did go 0 for 4, and he was unable to hit the ball out of the infield. Real Muto homered, popped up, singled, scored a run. Hitting .288. He hit a 91-mile-an-hour fastball from Maeda in the 2nd inning. Maeda perhaps went a pitch or two long. He had gone 98 pitches previously. Got to 98, then 99, then 100, and then 101. Gordon got a base hit. Drive in a run. That's a strike. 1-1. Five runs, 9 hits. For Dave Roberts' club, 2 runs, 6 hits. But again, a very, very rare night for someone like Adrian Gonzalez. When you go 0 for 4 and you lead 8 men, it's a nightmare, especially for a man who is known for so much success, particularly in the clutch. But it's baseball. 2-2. Meanwhile, Stanton, talking to his teammates, has done it again. Chase Utley rounding second, nailed. So all in all, it's been a very frustrating night for the Dodgers. Foul tip. Real Muto still there. Jose Fernandez allowed 2 runs and 5 hits. He struck out 8. And finally his club caught up. Fernandez allowed 2 runs in the first inning. Utley singled, Seager walked. With 1 out, Grandal doubled in 1, and then Puig got a fluke hit to give the Dodgers the 2nd run. That's okay, except all of a sudden they weren't heard from again. Fastball got him. So Real Muto goes down. However, Stanton also puts his brand on the ball game. So Giancarlo on his way out to right field, 5-2 Miami, and we'll be back. Sure to follow Dodger Baseball live with the MLB.com at Bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast news, and a lot more. You can download MLB.com at Bat. That's the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. Well, it's been a scramble. It's 5-2 in favor of Milwaukee. Former Dodger Miguel Rojas will take over at first base. He will bat 9th, and the new pitcher David Phelps will come in and bat in Bohr's spot. David Phelps kicked out of the game last night by the third base umpire tonight, Todd Tishner. David, born in St. Louis. Off-speed pitch in for a strike. Yasmani Grandal. Phillips 6'2", 190. 1-1. Phelps has been around a while. Started in 2008. Came up a couple of times with the Yankees, and the last year and a half with the Marlins. Ground foul. In the Dodger bullpen, Lewis Coleman warms up. We can give you a final score. When the night began, the Dodgers were leading the Giants by a half a game, and the Giants are in New York. Arizona just defeated the Cardinals 3-0. Ruby De La Rosa the winner. That evens up the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes. So Stanton does his usual imprint with a home run on the Dodgers to give an extra run, and for Utley, all he can do is he rounded the bag and paid the price. Arizona began the day a game and a half back. So if the Dodgers lose, the Giants would be in first place, and the Dodgers in Arizona would be tied for second. And there's ball 4 to Yasmani Grandal, and this time Phelps doesn't ask the umpire, where was it? It wasn't what his words. He didn't say anything wrong, except he extended his arms, and Todd Tishner kicked him out. You can say a lot of things, but when you start gesturing with your hands or arms, you're asking for a lot of trouble, and Phelps was kicked out. So now he walks Grandal, and the batter is Yasiel Puig. Got that 70-foot single behind the mound, struck out and popped up. And ball 1. 5-2 in favor of Miami. Phelps, fastball, curve, slider, and a change. One and one. The Marlins sent a former Dodger pitcher, Nathan Eovaldi, to the Yankees to get Phelps. 1-2. 5 runs, 9 hits for Miami. 2 runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers. Pitchers of record are the starters, Fernandez and Maeda. 1-2 to Yasiel. Time. Got him inside corner. So Puig can't say a word on that big time pitch. Strikes out his second time. Bearclaw had a strikeout. Phelps gets a strikeout. Fernandez had 8 strikeouts, so 10 Dodgers have gone down. Now Carl Crawford. Dave Roberts talking to Adrian about a very rough game. And ball 1. Crawford hit into a double play, grounded out, and flied out. There's the fastball fouled off. The possible pitcher of record, Jose Fernandez, gave up 2 runs in the first inning, and then the Dodgers were never heard again. He got on a strikeout tear where he struck out 5 out of 6. I mean, he started a cruise. 2 balls, 1 strike. Imagine Miami had lost 5 straight series here at Dodger Stadium, and now they're on the edge of winning a 4-game series. And of course, for Don Mattingly, Tim Wallach, and the other former Dodgers, a very pleasant experience. I'm sure Dee Gordon would agree. 3-1. Gordon's rushed down the line, causing the balk. That was a killer play. Pedro Baez stopped his motion, and Miami stole a run. And of course, with D, it's no surprise. So Baez roughed up for that. And then in the 8th inning, the home run by Stanton. 3-2. Fouled away. Dodgers scored 2 in the first inning and have not been heard from since. Toboggans. Yep, the hat's coming out. It's getting cool. Another foul ball. Crawford jammed, staggered. That 93-mile-an-hour fastball kind of tied him up. It's 57 degrees right now. The only blessing, no strong wind. It's just cool. The Zephyr has left town. 3-2 with 1 out. Grandal at first. The fans bundled up. Ground ball to short. Echeverria on the bag, fires to first. There's the double play, and the Dodgers are done in the 8th. So a nice job for Phelps, and at the end of 8, 5-2 Miami. 5-2 Miami. 5 runs, 9 hits. The Dodgers 2 runs, 6 hits. Lewis Coleman coming in out of the pen to make his 8th appearance. It's been Maeda, followed by Baez, and now Lewis. For Miami, it's been Fernandez, Edgy, Bearclaw, and Phelps. In the 9th inning, it'll be the bottom of the lineup. Echeverria will start it off. He'll be followed by Rojas, who's finishing up the game at first base, and then the leadoff man, D. Gordon. So Lewis ready to go to work, and here comes Echeverria. Shortstop fly to center, popped up, but started it really with an important base hit in the 7th inning. With 1 out, Real Muto singled, Echeverria singled, and then Gordon singled. Got around to third and caused Baez to balk, and it wound up being a 3-run inning. Coleman, side armor, comes by way of third. Quiet fella out of Mississippi. A bunt. Coleman down to get it. Makes the play. So 1 out, top of the 9th inning.
First baseman number 19, Miguel Rojas.
Here's Miguel Rojas, former Dodger, wonderful defensive player, and a very, very nice fella. Finish up last couple of games at first base. Made a dazzling play earlier in the series when he was playing third. Foul back. Alex Wood on the mound tomorrow night. Cesar Vargas, whom we have not seen, just being called up from the minor leagues. He'll be pitching for San Diego. Friday night fireworks as well. 1-1. Ground foul. Miguel is from Venezuela. Got that on his foot, so timeout. Looked like he got him on the instep. Goes down like a folding chair. He's 5'9". You can see where he's wearing the guardian on the left leg, but that was right on the instep. So he's trying to walk it off. Yeah, that didn't help him at all. Miguel, 27 years old. He can play short, third, second, or first. One and two in the dirt. He was with the Dodgers briefly back in 2014. Played in 80 some odd games for his glove. However, he only hit about 180. Originally signed with the Reds and then came to the Dodgers. 2-2 to Miguel Rojas. 3-2. Like so many, great glove, not much of a bat. Little pop fly. It'll be caught by Adrian. So 2 down. D. Gordon coming up.
Second baseman number 9, D. Gordon.
D. Gordon had 3 harmless, quiet ground balls. He was unable to do anything with the little pop fly that dropped on the infield by Puig, but he made up for it in the 7th inning. He knocked in a run, went to third on a base hit, and caused Baez to balk. Ball 1. When the Dodgers come up, they are due to have Coleman spot, then Turner, and then Kike Hernandez. Baez on the mound, and Gordon starts down the line, bluffs, but it distracted Baez. He just started to bring his hands up, and while still on the rubber, and so Gordon won the match. Three balls and no strikes. The closer for the Marlins, A.J. Ramos, he's up in the bullpen, and Gordon now with 2 out draws a walk, so you can bet he'll try to do something on the base path again. And Martin Prado coming up. So Coleman has to worry about a rabbit over there. Prado, meanwhile, doubled in the first, singled in the third, singled in the center. Went to second on Baez balk. So the veteran off to another good year, hitting .387. D. Gordon has stolen 6 out of 8. But outside of the balk, he's been a very quiet base runner when he's been aboard. Except for that great balk call. A strike. The patronage tonight, and a lot of the patronage took off. But paid attendance 44,009. Gordon trying to find an opening. One ball and 1 strike. Prado the batter. Yelich on deck. Prado, good man. He's a veteran with a great deal of patience, which is what you need with a runner like Gordon. Slow breaking ball, 1-2. There he goes on a drive to center, starting in and then freezing to make the catch is Kike. So no runs, no hits, a man left, and we're heading to the bottom of the 9th inning. 5-2 Miami. Two in favor of Miami. For the Dodgers, they will have Trace Thompson come in to bat in the pitcher spot, occupied now by Coleman. So it'll be Thompson, then Turner, and then Kike Hernandez against the right-hander A.J. Ramos. Ramos went to school at Texas Tech. He's from Lubbock, Texas. He had Tommy John surgery in 2008. And he had the TJ surgery while he was a junior in high school. Marlins picked him back in 2009. He's stocky, 5'10", a good 210. 30 years old in September. So Trace Thompson comes in as a pinch hitter, followed by Turner and Hernandez. Right. Kike will bat third in the inning. 0-1. You can just imagine the thoughts of Don Mattingly, Tim Wallach. The thought of coming in here and sweeping 4. 1-2. Well, Mattingly now standing up, stretching a little bit. I'm sure he dared to think of sweeping 4. As we mentioned at the start of the game, when he was the Dodger manager, his teams had 2 sweeps of a 4-game series. Fly ball, here comes Ichiro, and did he? No, he trapped it. It's a base hit. So a fly ball single, Ichiro unable to catch up to it. That close. That close. So Thompson with a base hit, and now here's Turner. Dodgers trying to come alive in the ninth. Turner got into the game as a pinch hitter and singled in the 7th inning. That's his strike. Five runs, 9 hits for the Marlins, 2 runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers. Trying to get off the floor. Oh, 1. Fastball checked up. No, he did not. Pat Holberg, the first base umpire. 0-2 the count to Justin. Yeah, that got out, didn't it? Out there. Over the top, 1-2 to count. Dodger hopes try to come alive. Fastball off the glove of his pitcher and gets by Echeverria. And Dodgers have runners at first and third. Echeverria trying to reach the ball and the bag at the same time and couldn't do it. Watch this. A bullet off the glove here. Now Echeverria scoops, slides, can't come up with it. Neither can Gordon. So the Dodgers get a big break on what might have been a double play ball. Echeverria gets in front of Gordon, and the Dodgers have runners at first and third, and nobody out. I assume they'll settle for a base hit. So the Dodgers now have Kike Hernandez representing the tying run at the plate. Nobody out. Right. Turner bluffing to steal second, and that made Gordon break to cover the bag, and it opened up the right side of the infield. And that's going to go to the backstop. Scoring is Thompson. Down to second base goes Turner, and this game is far from being over. So the wild pitch, scoring Trace Thompson. That thing really sailed. So Ramos gives up 2 hits, a wild pitch for a run. Dodgers very much in business here. A little counseling from Martin Prado, the veteran. When Ramos made his major league debut a couple of years ago, he struck out the side, and that was the heart of the Milwaukee lineup. 1-1. Took a lot off it. Good change. 1-2. That debut in the inning, he struck out Ricky Weeks, Ryan Braun, and Aramis Ramirez. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Big sweeping, and they're going to call a strike on it. So Kike called out.
Second baseman number 26, Chase
1 down,
Utley.
and Chase Utley coming up. Utley's been on base 4 times tonight. Singled, walked twice, hit by a pitch. And you remember, tagged out, rounding second base on a ground ball that got away from D. Gordon. Utley with Seager on deck. 5-3 Dodgers. Justin Turner at second base, 1 away. Utley batting .311. And ball one. Hernandez had gone from the dugout. He's back now. And a fly ball to left field. It's playable. Yelich is there to make the catch. Turner holding. So they finally get Utley on a fly ball. 2 down, and Corey Seager coming up. In the Dodger bullpen, Kenley Jansen still warming up. And Ramos still struggling to get the last out. They gave up singles to Trace Thompson and to Turner. Wild pitch to run. Hernandez struck out. Utley flied out. And here is Seager. On deck, Adrian Gonzalez. Fastball. Well, maybe a little less. 0-1. With Ramos, as the Dodgers know, you get fastballs, a cutter, slider, changeup. Drops another one in there. The Corey Seager in the hole. Corey has walked, singled twice, and struck out. 2 for 3. Fastball got him at 88, and the Dodgers go down in the 9th inning. So Miami, a rather remarkable job. Jose Fernandez the winner, and Kenta Maeda the loser, as the Marlins come in and sweep a 4-game series. For Miami, 5 runs, 9 hits and 1 error, and for the Dodgers, 3 runs, 8 hits and no errors. The Marlins head to Milwaukee with a 5-game winning streak, and the Dodgers dig in with a 4-game losing streak to face San Diego. Player of the game, well, Giancarlo Stanton hit a home run, but we'd give it to the third baseman Martin Prado, who had 3 hits. So that's the story for tonight. Hope you'll be with us tomorrow night if at all possible. And until then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.